and snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
He takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. The paddlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows despite the heavy dampness from the lake.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the channel if you're new here. My name is Death by Pony. Today we're hopping back into Lake of Voices. Without further ado, let's hop in.
This man is standing now, though still hunched with his arms wrapped around himself, as if expecting a blow. He stares to the ground rather than at us. Because of this, I'm having trouble reading his face. What exactly happened to him?
Are you well, stranger? Do you know where you are and why you're here?
He glances up, not at me, but towards me, his eyes resting somewhere near my collarbone.
I'm fine. You all can go on your way. Forget you even saw me here.
That's absurd. You have no way to defend yourself. We can't leave you.
Yes, I'm sure in your eyes I might not seem like much, but that's not exactly a fair shake. Maybe in a perfect world, every man would be as large as you. But that's not how things always go. It doesn't mean I'm defenseless.
The man's response is meandering. The words themselves seem to be in good jest, but he's still barely looking at us, fidgeting with his hands. Melly frowns, unimpressed.
It was a joke.
He smiles hesitantly, making eye contact with each of us for the first time.
What part of it was supposed to be the joke? Do you even realize what is happening in this moment?
Never mind. Forget that too. Point is, I'm alright.
You were curled up in a ball when we met.
Exactly. Something must be wrong with you.
Oh no, sounds like you've been talking with my father.
He lets out a weak little laugh, coupled with an eyebrow raise, voice trembling. No one really knows what to make of this. The man gives a small wave and begins down the path we came. Belly huffs, tossing his hands into the air.
That's not even the right way.
It could be, if he's trying to get to the side we came from.
He must have come quite a ways if it was the other shore that he started on.
The man's smile grows.
Good. That's not so bad.
There's no response to this remark, unsure of what could be said.
I still think he should come with us. A person needs a light, and the guide himself said he won't be able to manage on his own. Sticking with us is his best option.
I look over at the man's body, noticing the scrawniness of his limbs. Scrawny, but not necessarily lacking in muscle. The bravado he was showing as he tried to leave us has faded yet again, and now he stands quietly looking at us, as if watching a play. Interest, but no true connection to the events.
It's easy for you to say such things, but whose light are you offering? It's not mine, and you are putting her in even more danger with your own presence already.
Melly looks at Margaret. She avoids his gaze.
Perhaps I could have let him share my light before, but the guide has said the one with him has to remain behind, and I simply wouldn't be able to manage it.
Melly's hand turns into a fist. He looks away, but doesn't say anything. For a moment, no one does. I feel cold sweat on my brow as what I fear comes to pass. He's stopping us from protecting another. Why must he get involved now? Why can he not leave us to make our own decisions?
You... Don't worry about me. I'll be on my way now.
The man's voice is full of something I cannot place, and as he starts to shuffle back down the way he came, I'm still clenched around him. Margaret might not be able to take him, but there's another way this could be solved. I could stay back with him. I'll put Melly and myself at significantly more risk, but at least this man will stand a chance. Do nothing. I can't risk it. Margaret and Melly stare at the man as he leaves. We all watch him drag his little frame down the bridge, quickly fading from sight. We had to let him go. We've only barely been surviving so far. The space the man vanished into was dark and silent. We can see and hear nothing of him. not even his footsteps.
Maybe we should call him back? We can at least give him directions. Tell him what paths we've been taking.
It's not going to make any difference. We can't give directions when the bridges we were on might very well have sunken away.
We shouldn't focus on what might become of him. He has his own path to follow, and we ours. We should focus on what we're doing now.
Of course, it's not really a might, but we have to get through this somehow, and being weighed down with the guilt will only distract us. The guide starts moving again at a quick pace. After a moment's hesitation and one last glance into the truly lifeless fog, we run to catch up to him. We walk onwards in silence. Our party hasn't changed. The stranger was never added to it, so it's not as if it makes sense to miss him, but there's a sense of loss all the same. No one even attempts mirth. Though Bamele constantly looks to want to reach out towards my empty hand, always thinking better of it before doing so. I keep thinking I should have done more. Should have pushed the guide harder to change his mind so it was less dangerous to keep the man around. Something. Anything. But I have to let go. I'm not going to forget that man. I'll never forget him. But we still need to get through this. I curl my hands into fists, hoping it'll strengthen my resolve. Then I push forward. We turn down a different path, and the guide stops. Ahead of us stands a group of prowlers. At the sound of us, they turn their head in unison, as if they knew we were coming in. I inhale.
Not again.
The prowlers wriggle somehow, their skin moving more slowly than it should, sliding across their skeletons. They laugh.
We already lost a lantern and it's only our first day. We can't keep doing this.
Yes, we can't lose a lantern at this point. We're almost to the island.
The guide rummages through his coat with his free hand.
What are you planning?
Mameli's tone is borderline threatening, but the guide ignores him. He pulls out a small pouch and then opens the latch on his lantern.
Wait, are you going to throw that at them? What if the bridge sets on fire?
It will. We're going to run.
This is insane! These bridges are hellish enough without them also being on fire. And what about the other man? If he's still out there, this could...
He's dead. We're not losing another lantern.
He says it with such detached certainty, as if he saw it happen himself. No one argues with him. The guide steps closer to the prowlers. We fall into step behind him, staying close to his back. He bends his lantern to back down until it's lowered to his outstretched arm. The pouch in his hand is set aflame. With a practiced flick of the wrist, he swings the staff back up, and the glass on the lantern snaps closed.
Don't get left behind.
He takes 3 quick steps, then tosses the pouch. The prowlers are back in the water before the pouch even lands. As soon as it does, the fire starts to lick and curl itself around the wood. The guide breaks into a sprint, and so do the rest of us. The blaze grows despite the heavy dampness from the lake. The bridges aren't normal bridges. Of course, that's true. Nothing here is right. Hopefully they won't collapse with the flames. We stay on the guide's heel, almost too close for comfort. If he stops abruptly, we'll all crash into another, maybe even fall off the bridge. Then the world tilts. It was mid-stride when I put my foot down. The bridge isn't where it was. It lurched to one side, either because it was weakened or pushed. Mel and I managed to keep our ground, but Margaret falls to the ground. At least I thought that's what happened. She starts pawing at the bridge. My glasses fell off. I can't see. The guide, having regained his balance, presses on. He doesn't even bother to look at her. Mel and I run to Margaret, scanning the bridge, but there's no sign of her glasses. The flames are growing thicker and closer, the heat of life-sucking, close enough to nip at her heels. I grab Margaret's arm.
Your glasses aren't here anymore. We have to go or we'll lose the guide.
Margaret squints up at me, her face paler than ever. She nods and stands. We'll start after the guide again. As our storm of feet thunder across the boards, a silver sliver begins to rise into view, just above the edge of the water.
It's the island.
The island? I squint and suddenly make out the crackly form of land and earth. I see it. We're almost there. Safety, at long last, in sight. New energy surges through me. We push ourselves faster, longing to put these godforsaken bridges behind our backs. All at once, the bridges end and our entire group rushes ashore. Earth, solid earth, and a haven from the water. I catch my breath while still moving even further away from the dark shoreline. I can't believe we actually made it. Even more difficult is the idea that we're only halfway done. While night falls once more, we have to do it all again. A heavy arm falls across my shoulders. I straighten to see Bamele smiling wearily at me.
Good work out there.
It's not the usual accommodation of a job well done. There's sadness, perhaps even sympathy in the sentence. It ends flatly. With a sigh, he leans his head to the side, having it rest slightly against mine. Usually Bamele's comfort and good nature gives me at least the urge to smile. Right now, it feels like a hollow victory. He moves to face Margaret, who is squinting at the surrounding area.
Good work out there.
His statement is more energetic. He is not willing enough to show lack of confidence in front of her. Margaret smiles slightly.
How are you doing without your glasses?
Oh, I'll manage. I have to, after all. I'm not completely blind, thankfully, so I can muddle my way through.
There isn't anything much to see out on those bridges. As long as you stay away from the edge, you should be as safe as you were before.
That's true. It will be fine.
And then the guide is there. He moves so smoothly that his step on the soft sands are nearly silent, and his dusky clothes blend in with the thinning of the night.
The sun will rise soon. The fire on the bridge is the only reason this island isn't overrun with prowlers right now. However, they could still pose a threat.
Is that why you decided to set the bridges on fire? To make the island safer?
The guide looks at Margaret for what I suddenly realize might be only the second or third time all night.
Setting the bridges alight isn't an uncommon strategy. It has many uses.
He walks away, Margaret frowning at his retreating form. Come. The guide takes us to an area a bit further inland, but not too far from the water. Trees partly obscure our location, and there's enough room to watch the coast in case prowlers start to emerge from the water. Essentially, it's a place where an ambush would be hard.
If any of you see anything at all, speak up. We don't want them to sneak up on us.
Almost automatically, each member of the group turns to a different direction. For a brief second, I feel a flicker of pride. This night may have been awash with misery, but we're still here for each other. As the sky continues to fade from pale purple to muted blue, the water stays silent. For the first time, nothing happens. It's a miracle. Suddenly, my chest is lighter and the air is fresher. The first pricks of light appear above the horizon, stinging my eyes after such a long journey through the darkness. A sound catches my attention and I move my focus towards its direction. The guide is opening a latch on his lantern again. He gently, almost respectfully, blows out the light.
We no longer have to worry about the Nixie. It is over for today.
I'm almost unable to keep tears of relief from pouring out over those words. We made it through the night. We survived. No one feels the need to speak. We look at each other, an understanding passing between us. We find our own space as comfortable as we can, get and lie down for the rest we weren't sure would ever come. My eyes slowly blink open and readjust to the brightness, what little there is. The sun is obscured by a thick layer of fog, making it impossible to estimate the time of day. I prop my elbows up and push myself up. I prop up my elbows and push myself up. The ground is hard and rocky, but that isn't the only reason I am eager to get to my feet. I check my surroundings, the harsh, craggy earth of the island, and it's interlaced with twisting vines and gnarled branches. Beside me, Bamele and Margaret are still fast asleep. The guide, however, is nowhere to be seen. I realize that I don't recall seeing him lay down with everybody. It's likely he left us hours ago. There is a creeping silence here. I can't help but shudder at the hollow, aching feeling inside of me. It refuses to relent. I shift my weight back and forth, unsure of what to do with myself. Memories of last night's harrowing journey flicker through my mind. Melly awakens suddenly, rising with alarm and startling Margaret awake as well. My mouth opens and shuts after a moment of fumbling. A word finally escapes.
Hello.
Melly gives me a gentle smile and makes his way over to me. Margaret follows suit.
Morning.
Is it even morning anymore?
Margaret tries to speak lightheartedly. However, it doesn't do much to improve the mood. A pocket of quiet descends over us.
We should eat something soon. Margaret, do you have enough supplies?
Yes, I think I'll be alright with what I have.
That's a relief. The two of us have plenty of rations, though, so if you need anything, you can always ask.
Margaret sighs and presses her fingers to her temples, acting as if she's fed up with us.
You know, the two of you need to stop looking out for everyone else so much.
Melly winces at the statement without vocalizing what's on his mind. Margaret and I share a glance. This is about the person who we left behind yesterday. The person we didn't help.
I'm sorry, I didn't intend.
It's not your fault.
It goes quiet between us once more. A distinct rustle in the leaves around us catches my attention. The guide appears, emerging from the thicket. Margaret appears to be a little uncomfortable at his return. Melly glares at him as he makes his way over.
The Nixie will not tread on land in daylight. However, being near the shoreline is still dangerous. If you leave the center of the island, remain cautious. Before the sun sets, I will be in this area. It would be wise to meet me here before nightfall.
Why did we have to leave him behind?
I sharply turns toward Bamele and snarl as he snarls and confronts the guide.
If you would just let him follow behind us, he would be alive.
The guide looks away, seemingly unaffected.
If all you're going to do is leave everyone to be lost, then why bother guiding us at all?
Despite Bamele's severe words, the guide apparently considers his piece here finished. He turns toward the forest area from which he came.
Wait!
Melly calls out to the guide, reaching towards him. Before he can make contact, I quickly place a hand on his shoulder. He lowers his arm to his side, though I can still feel warmth emanating from him. We stay this way until the guide disappears from view. Melly begins to kick at the ground, spraying tiny pieces of gravel about.
Bamele, I know you're angry, but regardless of our feelings, we need the guide. If he leaves us, we'll all die.
And we've done so well with him?
I give him a cold glance. We won't even know which bridge to take without the guide. Melly knows that. This needs to stop. There are people counting on us to make it back. And what of Margaret?
We can't afford to lose our way.
The anger etched into his expression fades into sadness.
You're right, Kika. You're right.
He weakly swats his hand in front of his face as if he's trying to shoo away his racing thoughts.
I can't stay here right now.
I nod, allowing him to leave alone. Beside me, Margaret releases a sigh.
Are you all right?
No, I'm not. Nothing is all right. It will never get any better.
Margaret sucks in her breath as she starts to get emotional. Before it can spill out of her, she turns on her heels and walks off in a direction different than the guide's. I quietly speak. Bamele! I linger for only a moment. I start to follow in the trail Bamele took. It doesn't take him long to notice I'm there, and he slows his pace so I can easily catch up. We fall into step short while, neither of us speaking. Eventually we come to a thick stand of trees, and wordlessly weave our way throughout the branches. Once we're hidden by the foliage, Bamele leans against a tree trunk, head hung low. Negativity radiates off him, but I don't know what I should say. Fortunately, he breaks the silence.
I apologize for back there.
I nod firmly. His reply isn't unexpected. For as long as I have known Bamele, he has a tendency to let his temper flare, then regret it later after processing his thoughts.
I know that dealing with these sorts of situations calmly is part of the job, but I cannot tell myself everything is fine or that none of it matters. Sure, I can feel something without it being anger, but I've not figured that out either.
Rather than speak, I try to listen as supportively as I can, while Mele continues to argue with himself. He sighs while pensively rubbing the bridge of his nose.
Am I simply being foolish? Would it really have been so harmful to try and help someone else instead of focusing solely on oneself? It looks to me like we're telling ourselves these lines to avoid responsibility.
I don't know. It's possible you helping would have worked better. It's also possible it would have been worse.
Mele starts across the empty water of Sinlos.
I want it to be clear that I have not forgotten that those people across this lake are depending upon us. Not for a moment. But would they want us to be so focused on them that we should turn a blind eye to others right in front of us? Even if they would, does that matter? We are more than weapons, we are people. Do we have to cast that aside, turn away from our fellow humans, just to achieve a so-called greater good? It is not as though this village is a haven of saints. They are only as worthwhile as we are and these people on the bridges with us, aren't they?
I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, hit like. That way I know you're enjoying the content I'm making. Hit subscribe. That way YouTube brings you back here's happens next. I won't take up any more of your time. Have a good day, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.